everything, so I'll go out. You can throw me out.
Hello,
नहीं नहीं
hello,
sir,
and
sir,
welcome.
sir.
Hello, and welcome to 179 episode of Strive Defense Dialogue. Today, a very important topic we will discuss, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Uh, is it a, a kind of a grouping which will help the peace and tranquility in the area, or it will continue to contribute to global turbulence? And when the need for peace. Uh, Let me just give some stats before I invite our guest of the day. One is that this organization started in 1996 as a group of five, that is Russian Federation, China, Kazakhstan, uh, uh, then Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. But 2001, formally they created SCO, and that St. Petersburg, they adopted a charter which was adopted the members, and another member, sixth member was added, and that was Uzbekistan into it. Uh, this organization kept growing. 2017, two more countries were added, and that is India and Pakistan. 2023, Iran was added to it, and 2024, Belarus was added. As on date, it has got 10 members. It has got 14 dialogue partners. It has got two observers, and observers are Turkmenistan and Afghanistan and Mongolia. Guest attendants are two organizations and one country: ASEAN, UN, and CIS. Then another country is the Turkmenistan, which is a guest attendees into this. If one notices this, the whole thing is that 42% of the world's population is covered by this grouping. 36% of the world's GSDP, based on PPP format, it controls. Otherwise, to about say 23-24% of GDP, it controls. Uh, Almost 24% of the world's area is covered by this organization. So, therefore, to that extent, it has its own importance and relevance. Uh, it has the charter, which is I was mentioning. It has got three, uh, actually, two important articles. Article 1 and Article 2 are very important because even when started, it was basically for the security, provision of security to the member nations. And even today, it is strengthening of multi trust, friendship, and good neighborliness between member states, joint combating terrorism. Just mark these words: terrorism, separatism, and extremism in all their manifestations. This is a very important part because this organization is fighting these three scourges: strengthening of peace, security, and stability in the region, and promotion of a new democratic, fair, and rational political and economic international order. So, democratic, political, and economic international order. Now, is China a democratic country? That's the question which needs to be answered. And what kind of a democracy exists in some other countries, which are member countries? And member countries, we all know who all are the member countries. Then Article 2, which is another important part, is mutual respect for sovereignty and independence. Very important part of it. Now, sovereignty, when we talk of, does China care for the sovereignty of India? In Ladakh or in Arunachal Pradesh, the way he behaves, or Pakistan over Kashmir. So, that is another part which is important. And territorial integrity of states, inviolability of state borders. Now, this salami slicing by China, is it part of the system? which need to be looked into. Non-aggression, non-interference in internal affairs. We all know that what they are doing, Pakistan is doing in India. In fact, not only here, ISI is doing as far as Canada is concerned. China is also doing in Canada. China is also in Northeast is doing. And we all have evidence and suggestions that even last election, China, this cognitive warfare, and in today's speaker is a great exponent of 6G warfare, and he can shed some light on this also. Equality of all members, peaceful settlement of disputes. Now, I'll just the three statement in the 15-16 conference, which was held 23rd session of Council of Heads of State, which was held, and India was represented by our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar. So China spoke of development bank, SCO development bank, which they can control, because even today it is the headquarters is in Shanghai. SCO University, so that they can do a lot of kind of a mental conditioning of people who join there. China SCO Emergency Medical Cooperation, that's a good point. Pakistan is quite presently financially they are quite in doldrums, and one of the most important thing is 2011 onwards, floods are taking a toll on them. So that is another thing. Now, Jaishankar spoke, the most important part of it is strengthen mutual trust and good neighborliness. He just went by the charter, and multipolarity, globalization, and rebalancing of power he spoke of in the word. So that single say polar word is not acceptable. Cooperation should be based on mutual respect. International. Then he says that India can help, and India has been helping. International Solar Alliance, Coalition for Disaster Resistance, Resilient Infrastructure, Mission Life, which is for sustainability, practicing yoga for mental health, promoting millets, because a lot of these countries have got water issues, including Pakistan and some portions of India. So millets would be a very way ahead. Global Biofuel Alliance, because one of the most important source of energy in this part is, besides solar, it is Biofuel Alliance. Digital, India has made a great progress in digitization. So that is where India can be of very great help. Now, the further question is security, energy, cooperation, and connectivity, trade and investment. That is one of the important part. Is SCO contributing to it? My speaker of the day is a very distinguished analyst who is a distinguished fellow of CLAWS as well as Strive, Major General Sudhakarji, VSM. Over to him for his considered view on the subject.
Sir, good evening, and thank you very much for getting me back to the show in Strive. Makes me feel very proud and humble to contribute to whatever penny's worth one can make. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give a few highlights of the issue. We are talking about the latest meeting SCO which was held in Pakistan. Let me highlight to start with the punchline as per my analysis. The punchline of the entire event is the statement I have just culled out from that long statement of our Honorable Minister of External Affairs, and I'll read out the text. If trust is lacking or cooperation inadequate, if friendship has fallen short and good neighborliness is missing somewhere, there are surely reasons to introspect and causes to address. Who said this? Our Minister of External Affairs. So, this is one thing which I would like to articulate at the beginning so as to give an orientation of our discussion for next 30 odd minutes. Also, he highlighted the very important objective, one of the important objectives of combating terrorism, separatism, and extremism. May not be in the same sequence, but to that effect he conveyed. So, having said this, I also would like to start by saying that SCO is an organization for our viewers to understand a couple of issues. One is, why was the need felt? What compelled China to go in for this? This is very important to understand. And second, also, our viewers would do good to understand that this is one of the very few global or the regional groupings which has got a vertical called a regional anti-terrorist structure, RATS, RATS. Not all groupings have got this kind of organization. So with that, I would like to go on the issues which General Chaturvedi has already covered. These two issues, and thereafter I'll go on to share my perspective as to what I feel in response to the questions which have been raised by the anchor. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost thing, we need to understand that we are in 21st century. We are in Cold War 2.0. Now, the emergence of this small grouping, Shanghai Five called as, which came into existence after the need was felt after the disintegration of Soviet Union, when Soviet Union broke up into disintegrated into the CIS, Commonwealth Independent States, 15 of them. Incidentally, just for the students who keep interest in history, USSR has grown from 4 to 16 independent states at different timelines. And this is a timeline wherein the USSR broke up into different nation states called as Commonwealth Independent States, 15 of them. Belarus and Ukraine happen to be part of this 15. And others you can Google up and find out. Why am I stressing this? I'm stressing this because China's sensitivity or the thorn of internal stability lies in Xinjiang province. Xinjiang province is driven by, its security is driven by one factor, singular factor, the Uyghur Muslims. It is troubled. It is troubled and it is actually hassled even today, despite having taken very stringent measures through the factors of sinicizing the Uyghur Muslim to large an extent, and also having kept them under a tight control and surveillance. And you have multiple education centers where the Uyghur Muslims are being subjected to process of systematic scientific indoctrination to bring them comparable by all socio-economic attributes of Han Chinese as far as possible. So therefore, first threat, or I would say a kind of a countermeasure to address the hostile border, because all these countries of the CAR, the Central Asian Republic, which are member states of the SCO, they have a common border with China. To start with, 4 of them, and subsequently, the latest is Turkmenistan is also attained the observer status along with Mongolia as per the latest meeting. So by and by, China is trying to address its border issues and also take effective countermeasure to ensure that there is no potential or real threat emanating from all these states or from erstwhile Soviet Union. One. Number two, there is also a factor to be understood. What is that factor? That factor is that predominantly all these 5 nation states of the CAR, Central Asian Republic, they are Muslim, predominantly Muslim dominated, and that too, they are a kind of a sanctuary available where the ISIS has shown its footprint in the past. Al-Qaeda has also made penetration, and the Uyghur Muslims, having migrated from the Xinjiang province through Wakhan corridor and different porous borders, they have made this sanctuary adaptable as also convenient for their operation against the border in Xinjiang province, against the PLA and the China. Third point I wish to highlight is that this is a place which is also the underbelly of Russia as in today. When I say underbelly, what I mean is that whether it is Kazakhstan or any other state here, they are very rich in oil and gas, number one. Number two, minerals. Number three, there is a new great game which is in progress. Till 2000, I would say China's footprint was minimal. But post 2000, the footprint of China has changed so much so that the oil pipelines, which were actually oriented to the west of this particular region, have started turning east, meaning the oil and gas have started flowing towards the east. The investment, which was earlier in terms of 1 billion, it has already touched or gone beyond 30 billion. And the kind of penetration which China has made into this, primarily, I would say, driven by the scheme, the flagship scheme of BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, is phenomenal. So, therefore, these couple of issues have to be kept in mind. When I say new great game, what it means is the expansionism of China is in its best form manifesting here in this region, which is being contained by multiple forces. You have USA there, you have Russia also contesting, which is not coming out in the open media as much as other issues are coming out. Also, you have presence of the some of the leading economies of the world, which are playing a significant role in countering and containing the expansion of the BRI projects of China. And keep this in the backdrop. Also, we need to understand the centrality of our discussion is the INTUC, that is the North-South Corridor, trade corridor, which is a multimodal trade corridor starting from Chabahar over a distance of 7,200 kilometers. India is playing a very important role along with Russia, Armenia, and such like countries. And Iran is the host country which is given passage and cutting across Afghanistan and through to the Europe. It takes a long this thing. It has got shipping, it has got railways, it has got highways, etc., etc. Now, this has got a huge potential to change the profile of the economic perspective of not only South Asia but the Europe as well. There will be a free flow of commodities moving to and fro from Russia towards South Asia, from South Asia to Russia, as also Europe and the Caucasus country. When I talk about the Caucasus country, basically it has Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, such like countries. There are 4 or 5 of them. So this is the broad issue which I wanted to highlight. And there is another factor which I also wish to highlight before I take off in the direction. Now, what is it why is India interested in this? India is interested because India is not what it used to be during the undivided British India Empire. India's lots of borders have been encroached, be it from the China side or from the Pakistan side, and we have a superficial, artificial kind of a imaginary line border with the Central Asian Republic. During undivided British India Empire, we had common borders with the Walkham Corridor, and the shortest distance across Walkham Corridor to Central Asian Republic is 17 kilometers, which if we actually go deeper into the issue, China and Pakistan, they have collaborated to make a tunnel across Walkham Corridor and connect the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the Gilgit-Baltistan area with the Central Asian Republic, so as to enhance the connectivity. India, through my research, the following issues stood out. It's to highlight basically that India is collaborating on non-traditional security issues like energy security, health security, climate change, environmental protection, economic security, etc., etc. But what is it that compelled India? Was it purely on invitation of Russia that we went into SCO, or was it at the willing participation of India to become a member? I personally feel it may have been at the invitation of Russia to become a SCO, but today in 21st century, the geopolitics is so dynamic that it is very important to ensure a consistent and a persistent, sustainable engagement with multiple stakeholders. I am not by no means trying to highlight the multilateralism which our Minister of External Affairs alluded to during his articulation in the latest meeting. What I'm saying is, good, bad, ugly, the time is such that no nation can ever afford to not to engage or ignore a particular stakeholder which could become relevant in unpredictable times, which will turn out to be critical to the national interest of India. So this is a very important aspect I thought I must give a cover. And another aspect which I wish to cover is the energy security and trade with Central Asia, because we have a traditional and historic relationship, and our Hindi songs, Bollywood songs are very popular in that area. But more than that, one should also be mindful that Kazakhstan has got the largest deposits of uranium, a very high grade quality of uranium. Also, we need to be mindful of the fact that here is 4% of the global oil reserve. As per my research, I hope I am not wrong, and I just quickly browsing through
Gas is
4%.
4%, oil is 3%. Oil is 3%.
Okay, 3%. So 3 to 4% between gas and oil. This much, it is a huge quantum. It is available here. So therefore, in foreseeable future, if Indian economy has to grow close to two digit or more than well into the two digit, or become more than 7.8 and 8.2%, then energy security should be sustainable and it should be assured. This is the second. Third point is that it may be an underbelly to Russia, underbelly to China, but it is a hot belly as far as India is concerned, because Indian products are respected, are liked, are preferred in this region far better than that of Chinese product. This has to be understood, because there is an intrinsic respect and liking towards Indian culture and the way of life. There is a high degree of trust about everything about Indian in these five countries. So having given this perspective, now let's come to the SCO. Now, SCO was created, it started its life story with Shanghai 5, just to have a stable border with the disintegrated Commonwealth of States or Commonwealth of Independent States of USSR, that China to large an extent has been able to stabilize and also fence quite a few countries, the borders, and also ensure that there is no infiltration taking at random into the Xinjiang province. One. Number two, the BRI project. There are 6 major BRI projects which China started in 2013. It was promulgated, announced when Xi had visited to Kazakhstan, if I remember correctly, and he had started the term the BRI. And what is BRI? BRI essentially is it's in two parts. The belt is talking in terms of connectivity to Europe, number one, that is from China mainland to Europe across the Central Asian Republic. Second one is the road. What did he mean by road? The road means the maritime Silk Road connectivity in terms of ports, in terms of the shipping lanes, in terms of dockyards, etc., in terms of storage facility and energy security. Now, why China is doing what it is doing? China's aims are multiple issues, and primarily for China to retain or attain its status of Middle Kingdom by 2049, rejuvenate the concept of Middle Kingdom and be a global power so as to assert its authority and challenge the sole superpower, that is the USA. Energy security is paramount. 83% of energy of China required today is imported from multiple places in the world. CAR is one of the significant component. I am given to understand that 1 to 2% as of today is actually started flowing. This is likely to increase to a percentage of almost about 7 to 10% in next 10 years time from Central Asian region. Apart from that, major share is coming from the Middle East as also Latin America and that of Africa. Number two, apart from this connectivity that I have highlighted is part of BRI. BRI is the belt connecting with the Europe. It wants to achieve a kind of a land connectivity so that its products can move on land to Europe directly, thereby reducing its cost effect, which otherwise would be a huge by virtue of a long turnaround distance from Eastern China or South China Sea, skirting around, coming through the Malacca Strait, going through the Suez Canal to Europe, or south of Cape of Good Hope. It's a long turnaround time, which takes anything between 24 to 34 days, whereas the land connectivity will be able to, land connectivity by in terms of railway, they have successfully carried out trials. The goods have started moving. Land connectivity by national highways, they have successfully carried out the trials. There are special economic zones which have come up, all under development as of now. To some extent, some of these connectivities have already been completed. Now you come to the other part. There are 5 other connectivity. One of them is CPEC. CPEC, as you all know, is the master flagship project of Xi Jinping. And this, unfortunately, has not taken off despite having committed 62 billion US dollars, and already applied on the ground is something close to $42 billion as per the last count that I just calculated in the evening. At number of places, you will find 28 to 32 billion, but it's gone beyond that to 42 billion. Gwadar is assuming a lot of importance because Gwadar is going to be the one of its kind. No matter what happens, no matter what we discuss, China's dependence of its economy to thrive and sustain is totally dependent on making its shortest line of communication for its energy security. As on today, between Persian Gulf to East China Sea or to the eastern portion of coast of China, that is around 14,000 odd kilometers, it takes anything between 14 days to 21 days for transportation of oil. And every barrel is not cheap, it is costly. But whereas if China uses the CPEC by different methods, it can pump oil from Gwadar port right up to Kashgar, distance of 3,100 to 3,002 kilometers, and there can be a regular uninterrupted supply, which is being challenged by different multiple forces. Balochistan Liberation Front, you have Tehrik Taliban Pakistan, and host of other elements which are operating there. So that is the second. Third is the remaining 4 of connectivity projects are actually passing through the Xinjiang province. This Xinjiang province becomes very, very vulnerable and prone to the terrorist attack, which to large an extent they have been able to contain. And in past 5 to 10 years' time, between 2013 to 2024. How it is going to pan out, nobody knows. There is a huge danger of Uyghur Muslim actually showing the ugly face, which they had shown in the initial part of their existence. They may revive, you never know, or forces inimical to the national interest of China may take advantage and exploit the same. Next point I wish to highlight is the factor of the global order as in today. We have Central Europe. There is a proxy created by the Western Alliance, that is the Ukraine. We have the Middle East. As per me and my understanding, there is a proxy created and being used extensively by not complete Western Alliance, essentially USA. There is also a proxy which has been lately created. It's Canada. Canada is a enlarged form of Pakistan. So Canada, through Canada, USA is trying to, extend its, let's call it the doctrine of octopus doctrine, and trying to put pressure on India, because the Thucydides trap always, highlights one aspect, that no superpower or established power anywhere in the world has ever seen a growing economic power coming into existence and becoming something comparable with that of its superpower. So it will not allow this kind of competition, and conflict will continue for times immemorial. So what is my take in response to the question to the general which the anchor had made? The answer I would say is that it's very important for India to continue to engage with SCO, and it's good that we have become a member of SCO. As and today, there are multiple groupings in the world. They can be divided into 2 different types. One is the Western grouping, the other is non-Western grouping. In the non-Western grouping, SCO, BRICS, you have RCEP, etc., to partially, to some extent. Similarly, you have non-Western grouping would be the ASEAN, you have the East Asia, that grouping is there, you have the APEC grouping, likewise. But APEC grouping also is a part of the Western grouping. But what I'm trying to highlight in the SCO is that the following things. First and foremost, China's objective is to regain its status of a middle kingdom by 2049 or earlier than that. In order to achieve that, it is trying somehow or the other. BRI happened to be its flagship and one of its approaches to integrate. At one point in time, it had 162 countries. Now it is actually reduced to 125 countries. Large number of countries have fallen into the debt trap, so therefore they have raised their hands. And it is through the process of BRI, it wants to enhance its connectivity and make these nation states or countries dependent on China. So therefore, the world order today, between Cold War 1.0 to 2.0, has gravitated away from geopolitics to geoeconomics. It is dominated by China. And I don't say that it has got trade surplus with all the countries in the world, but out of 192 or 193 countries in the UN, United Nations, it has got something close to more than 120 countries where it has got trade surplus in favor of China, and including USA, that you have to keep in mind. So therefore, whichever country has got economic predominance in today's world order will have a greater say, greater clout, greater influence. This is the paradigm or the concept of geoeconomics. And overall, the orders of dictate will be driven by the ideology, which is predominantly that of the leading power. Now, what is the ideology we are talking of? If you carry out a statistical study a year or 2 years back, there was a global conference of democratic countries called by USA. 111 democratic countries had willingly participated. Pakistan did not, if you recall. So China did not. So, so what is it that I'm trying to highlight? There is a study carried out by one of the independent bodies in the USA, as also the Strategic Institute based at Washington. In that, they have highlighted one aspect, that communism is expanding, or the leftist forces in the world is expanding. Democratic value system is declining. So therefore, if we do not take efforts or make efforts in earnest, perhaps the liberal democracies or the liberal values of rules-based international order may get isolated, may become insignificant for in foreseeable future in the 21st century. In order to prevent that from happening, there are some steps which are being taken by the current superpower, that being the predominant democratic, largest democracy in the world, as also the like-minded democratic country. So China is trying to assert its authority, expand its tentacles, and trying to expand its dominance in the world through different means. One of the means is the Belt and Road Initiative. The second means is de-dollarization. Whether de-dollarization will be successful or not, that is anybody's guess. But they're making very significant stride. The third, as part of de-dollarization, is to create an alternate method to transfer or carry out transaction, international transaction, cross-border transaction of the currency. In place of SWIFT, they have gone in for a cross-border transfer of currency. Its acronym, that's CPIS or something like that. And they have been CPIS. They have been partially successful to quite an extent, but that doesn't go to say that they will be able to de-dollarize effectively, because dollar even today, at one point in time, dominance of dollar was 89%. Unfortunately, it has come down to something around 59% or so. And the economists, they say the day it goes down below 50%, you can take it that would be the beginning and the clear distinct signature.
May I request you to please sum up so that we can have some questions.
Yes. So therefore, what is it that I'm trying to say? Now, although it is a non-Western kind of a grouping, India's membership is very vital to contain and counter China, as we have contiguous border with it, and we have an extended standoff, and all kinds of forces inimical to our national interest are on the rise and intensifying, be it Canada, be it Manipur, be it your Doklam issue, be it any other issue, or Bangladesh. So my only issue is that it is very important for India to stay engaged with these multiple components and also articulate our views. One cannot have an assured or a guarantee of a peaceful transition from what we are today, because the world is polarized today in a significant manner, to go towards a quick achievement of our national objective. For me, My national objective, apart from many peripheral issues, is to achieve the status of a 30 trillion economy by 2047 or earlier than that. To achieve that, there has to be stability, there has to be internal order, there has to be no conflict with any of the adversaries. We have an adversary in the west as also to the north. There has to be stability in the confederate of our the states and the provinces. There has to be political dispensation have to realize that in matters related to security, uh, uh, best option would be to exercise restraint rather than resort to hate speeches and provoke such a huge youth bulge of 65% of our population. And last but not the least, India is looking out for suitable opportunities for the following things. One is employment, second is education, and third is the technology. Technology is of paramount importance. I am not touching upon 6G because 6G itself is an exclusive subject which we are we're experiencing today. It's a big challenge. When I talk about 6G, it is predominated by the technology predominance, state of the art. Talk about the quantum computing, talk about the AI, talk about the autonomous support system, blockchain, or whatever you name it, or genomics. These are all predominated by the wireless connectivity, which is faster, 100 times faster than a 5G today. No country has been able to achieve a significant progress. They are likely to achieve the fully successful in 6G by 2028 or 30. Countries like Japan, South Korea, America. India has
we
just
shall
made a-
talk about 6G in a subsequent sessions or something, because
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
full specialized topic separately. We will.
And
Uh,
as far as SEO, the last line, if you allow me, sir, is to say the best way to contain any adversary is to stay engaged with a common platform. That's the best way we can assert our philosophy of democracy, our value system of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, or one earth, one family, one future. And also, we can assert what we want the world order to be by virtue of our credibility in the global order today and by virtue of the economic bright spot in the world order, despite the pandemic, despite the Ukraine war, despite the Middle East, what it is experiencing today. That's all, sir. Thank you so much. Back to you, sir.
Actually, two small clarifications. One is Turkmenistan actually is having a gas pipeline originating from there that is called TAPI. Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, which is a initiative of US. And as and when that fructifies, the energy needs of say intervening countries would be taken care. But a lot of gas is going to east, that is China, from Turkmenistan. Second is BRI versus INSTC. When we talk of BRI's base in Europe was Trieste, which was in Italy. But Italy having gone out of BRI, now suddenly they don't have any say landing point in Europe as on date. So INSTC suddenly becomes important, which is because from Russia through Caspian, through Lower Caucasus to Turkey, and that's how Turkey is, if you notice, is one of the countries which is there, which has got a observer status in this SCO. So that's another thing. Now, in this case, I would like to ask one question from you, that suddenly Iran's centrality becomes very important. Because for India, particularly India, because with hostility in Pakistan being what it is, and China not getting the support of CPs is not fructifying because of the insurgency in Balochistan, and also not such a healthy situation in Gilgit-Baltistan. So therefore, Iran's centrality, would you like to comment on this, that for India, it becomes very important, although China is also trying to woo Iran by promising to have investing $400 billion in next 25 years. May I have your views?
Sir, absolutely. I agree with the General, sir. The Iran centrality is paramount in the instant case. Why? Because of dynamic situations all around, which are not favorable to China's growth story in terms of BRI and otherwise also. Therefore, they have gone in for a significant commitment made to Iran, more than 400 billion, and so some percentage of this money has already been committed on the ground. And also, Iran happens to be a country which is in the camp of China and Russia. So when you actually combine Russia, China, and Iran, it becomes a significant arc, which is a very potent threat of containment to the growing or the existence of the superpower, that is the US and its like-minded countries. This is one part. Second part is it is a Shia dominated society or a country in the Middle East. And we all are aware of the fact the historic rivalry between the Shia and Sunni. This itself is a separate exclusive subject. I would like to dilate further. And by virtue of the country which is containing the Israel, Israel in the Middle East, and against the Abraham Accord, it is China which has actually leveraged the relationship with Iran in order to be an effective counter to Israel, as also the USA and the like-minded countries in the Middle East. Third thing I wish to highlight is that it is a rivalry which is on in the Middle East today. And when you talk about the rivalry, pro-Abraham Accord, anti-Abraham Accord, by virtue of the historical leanings, there are a significant percentage of the population today. They want to continue with the historical kind of architecture which is existing and the relationship. But the realization has come that the oil is not going to be permanently available, which will continue to make the GCC or the Middle East country as the reservoir or the well of oil for the world. So it is started diminishing, and depletion of the oil reserve is started also casting very dark clouds. Therefore, some of the countries in Middle East have started diversifying. When I'm trying to highlight this, the oil dependency of China is likely to continue for next 50 to 80 years, or maybe the century, 21st century itself. Iran is a good source of cheap oil available to China, despite the sanctions which had been imposed against Iran in different timelines by USA. China continued to actually take oil and refine it in the homeland. And a third and most important thing is the strategic significance, geostrategic significance of Iran. In order to go to CAR, there is only one approach as of today, from Chabahar cutting across Iran through Afghanistan. So this is one axis. There is no other axis available or to visible to me as per my research. Yes, another one is there is a BRI project which is actually taking off from Iran, going to Iraq, then to Turkey, then to Europe. This is perhaps a kind of a project which is to counter the IMEC that we have been talking since G20, which is not gained traction so far as far as the news content is concerned, but it is happening on ground. And also we need to be mindful of the fact that the declining status of the superpower, which had bargained a net security provider in the Middle East, has also withdrawn its footprint significantly from Middle East as on today. The latest figure is around 42,000 who are present, American soldiers. In times ahead, although the boots on ground are indicated that in Israel, because of the ongoing conflict, they will start manning the THAAD. The troops are going to be there on the ground. That is very insignificant as far as the percentage of their involvement is concerned. To my mind, Iran will continue to assert its authority as long as possible, supported by Russia and China. And in order to sustain their clout and influence in the Middle East, Iran is going to play a vital role and importance in keeping with its historical preeminence and primacy, which it enjoyed way back during the Persian Empire, wherein it is to be one of the global powers at that point in time. I hope I've been partially able to answer your questions.
Absolutely. One small clarification. IMEC has not gained traction only because the problem is that the point from which it goes from, say, Arabian Peninsula to Mediterranean is Haifa. And Haifa, because of the present situation in Middle East, Haifa is a non-starter. So Haifa to Piraeus in say Greece, that was a maritime route, which is not becoming. So unless that becomes operational, IMEC will have problems. India, one more thing which I would recommend in this case, and that is that Central Asia, the demand of energy is increasing quite substantially in their case. But because of the climatic change and all those things, suddenly solar and biofuel has become very important. And India, the energy demand in 2020 was about, say, uh, 204 million tons of oil equivalent, which is likely to go to 32, rise by 32% by 2030. And transmission network and distribution network is non-existent. So India can be very helpful through their International Solar Alliance, Biofuel Alliance with G20 they did, and also their expertise in transmission and distribution. They can be of great help. And the total requirement is about, say, $340 billion, which others will not give. Substantially in parts, India can support this, because China, if they give, they do charge 6.5%. That's a problem. Now, let's take some questions from our audience. This Rakesh, JP, good evening. Get back. Oh, no, that's okay. We come to ask why can't Bharat have a declared mission countering China, or for a national honor like this Middle Kingdom aim, dream of China? Why don't we create our own counter narrative against this? Yes.
May I, sir?
Yes.
Absolutely, JP, it's a very noble idea. Unfortunately, you see, narrative development is is actually deficient in our very concept and philosophy as on today, because you know it. Strive has brought out this point. We as a country today, we do not have a strategic document, national security strategy. There is no document. I know for sure. I have been. I was dealing when I was. There's a different kind of a document which is referred to by everyone. It's under the Raksha Mantri's direction. But today we don't have a strategic document. So what I'm trying to bring out, when you talk about the strategy or talk about containment policy or the philosophy or the doctrine, uh, we are yet to achieve the status of having crystallized our threats. The threats are ever increasing. Call it irregular or the hybrid threat or any kind of threat today. Today, you see how the hoax calls have forced how many, more than 12 or 14 of the flights. They have grounded them, international as also national. Look at the derailment, how it is taking place. So until we come to a status wherein everything gets normalized, the borders are settled, or maybe it is too idealistic a expression or articulation I'm making. Your island territories, when I was doing NDC, the number of islands at the beginning of the NDC was 575. By the end of the NDC, after 11 months, it had touched 1100. And by another 2 years, it had touched a figure of 1200. And today we have 1400, close to 1400 island territories. Each island, the small, tiny island, can turn out to be a turning point as far as the national security. It can turn the attention and the focus of the national security. So imagine that kind of. We don't have the luxury of so much of maritime, the forces. The capability enhancement itself is going to take a lot of time and a lot of finances. Therefore, I'm sure this point which you have raised has got a lot of merit. We would do good by making a beginning. We should have develop our own narrative. What is the narrative going to be? Should you say Akhand Bharat? Should you say kind of the central point? Like there is a book written by Dr. Kaplan in 2010. He talks about that the monsoon. Monsoon is the start point of the book. He has very clearly established in that book that in 21st century, the center of gravity of the global order will be driven by what happens in India and Indian Ocean. That it's a worth reading book. There is another book also, Threats Other Than War. written by, there are two authors who have written, American, both of them are Americans, and they have brought out one thing very clearly. They have, what is it? That the threats which India is going to experience, no other country would be experiencing other than war. So call it cyber attack, call it information warfare, call it your hybrid or anything. Our country is just about, you know, cut and made to actually go through this journey. But nothing is going to deter. I agree with you. This concept should be evolved. Just half an hour back only, there was a special interview by one of the channels wherein I have strongly recommended that we cannot wait for the ideal opportunity or time. Some beginning has to be made. I was under the impression that not enough is being done by 6G. Some of my NDC batchmates, they have downloaded from the chat GPT. I realized to my happiness that 6G mission has been launched in a significant manner. We are doing a lot of work. India is not miles ahead because we are yet to roll out 5G in a substantive manner. 5G itself is going to take another 10 years. So by the time we start 6G in earnest, the other countries would have actually taken off. So we are back by at least if not more, at least 2 decades in comparison with some of the leading countries in terms of technology, in terms of concept that you have highlighted. We need to formulate a concept of counter narrative. Yes, sir, please.
The three things I will just clarify. One is that in Indian Ocean region, Hu Jintao mentioned Malacca dilemma because of the location of Great Nicobar Island. What India has done, from the Nicobar Islands and Andaman Islands, there's a Duncan Passage, there's a 10-degree channel, there's a 6-degree channel. So what India has done, India has created besides Port Blair, Utkrosh, there's an air station, Kohasa in Diglipur, which has been created in North Andaman. Second is that we are going for a major naval base in Great Nicobar Island. For 10-degree in Karnik, we have got an air base. In Great Nicobar Island also, we have created air station called Baz. So 6-degree channel, we are trying to say dominate this kind of a thing. So that is one part of it. As far as 6G is concerned, there are many other issues, but the most important part is that the basic thing which we have started doing is we have started investing substantially into production of semiconductors, which will definitely help us to roll out quickly 6G, because otherwise China is very happy, Huawei, and is very keen to come to India. So if we do that, we have to close this gap. And this is what the effort, the government of India is conscious and they're doing it. Okay. So these are the two things I thought that I'll clarify. Now let's go to Chandrasekhar Murthy. India is budding power. To have to reduce conflicts and rivalries that slow us down. We are doing well in internet. Okay, that's a statement. We just go for next. Ask. Just today, news came that Netanyahu's home was... there's someone had asked a question that Iran, who will save Iran from Netanyahu? Sorry, America. I mean, this question has gone... I can't see that question, but I saw this question. Whoever has asked this question, let me clarify. Since 78, 79, when Iranian revolution took place, America tried to destroy Islamic Republic of Iran. And 21 plus 20, 43 years have gone. They have not been able to do. So Israel or no Israel, Iran is the old civilization. It will not just go like that because of its location, as General Sudhakarji has very rightly mentioned. And it is a very important thing that Iran will not... It's a kind of a inheritor of Persian Empire of which has even Alexander was kind of a stopped there. So therefore, saying that they will be able to finish off Iran, unlikely. So this question is Rakesh Bhatia. How does India in the Quad, BRICS and SCO impact its strategic positioning? What are the potential concerns for Western powers regarding India's ties with China. And
Rakesh, you know the answer for yourself. But before that, there was a question: ki what is the role of SCO? Role of SCO, I believe the Netanyahu's residence has been attacked by a drone, and in case it further flares up, will SCO have any role? To the best of my understanding and research, SCO as on today does not have that kind of military. It has no military alliance. It is a political, economic, social, cultural, likewise, those kind of binding factors which have helped to create this. And predominantly, this was created to actually address the potential threat emanating from these Soviet provinces or the Commonwealth independent states of Russia. So I don't see SCO will have any role as a group. Independently, yes, they might. Bilaterally, yes, they might. Second point, there was another very interesting question prior to this. Sir, can you go back to the previous question? There was another very interesting point he made. Chandrasekharji had made a very important point, although it is a statement of fact that we are doing well in international relationship. I, for one, I have always been maintaining, Chandrasekhar Murthy that India for next 10 odd years follow what Deng Xiaoping had said. Put your head down, hide your brightness, cherish obscuracy. What it means is, till India attains a status of $7 to $10 trillion economy, because the moment you reach 7-10 trillion, in minimum time, it starts more the money, faster is the multiplication. So until that happens, until
Keynesian cycle.
Yes, until the economy grows, we cannot enhance our military capability. Without military capability, you cannot assert as a global power, or you cannot ensure 30 trillion economy. So therefore, it is happening. India is doing fine, but we should be mindful of these kind of unpredictable threats. At times, Pannu, at times Niger, at times hoax calls for the air. This thing derailment will continue. The new types of threat like Bangladesh, Manipur will keep happening. Doklam se aur kuch ho jayega. There will be a tunnel dug by the Chinese across connecting with Bangladesh. There will be nuclear submarines coming and docking in the Bangladesh. It has happened at Kudbida dockyard. Nobody came to know about this in India. Maybe people might have come to know and take some action. So therefore, we need to be very careful. I think the present government is playing its role in a very calibrated, with utmost dexterity, just utmost proficiency, I would say, because overreaction to any particular situation, whether it is Kisan Andolan or any other issue, will give them enough room to take advantage. Our own people in politics, I'm sorry I'm making this statement, they are behaving worse than enemies. So therefore, a great degree of code of conduct is required, a lot of disciplining is required. Today only, there is some report which has come from Jharkhand, so from a place where a reporter was surrounded by people. It is Muslim-dominated population. The reporter, unless that lady asserted that I am the media, if you behave this way, then I am going to publish your thing, which will go against you. So such things will keep building up, intensifying in times ahead. India has to by and by, identify and take steps as it is taking. Many things we don't know. Like I didn't know about very important and significant effort which has been initiated by India as far as the 6G mission is concerned. I didn't know, honestly speaking. I have been going around and lecturing until my NDC batchmate gave me a chat GPT details. So there are many things which are happening, and therefore I'll go with the statement that you have made. Absolute international relations, our Ministry of External Affairs, our diplomats doing a fabulous job. There is no denying the fact. But how do you handle the national security? First priority should be focus on settling the border. Number two, have such an integrated, overlapping, all-weather surveillance mechanism, indigenously produced platforms, so that our island territories and the maritime boundaries are kept under effective surveillance with suitable response metrics to proactively engage or deter such kind of threats. Third, do not neglect Indian Ocean region. My view is that tomorrow's war, if at all it happens, will not happen from the continental borders. It will happen from the Indian Ocean region. Last but not the least is Brigadier Bhatia's point. Yes, you made a significant point. If we can go to that question, sir. Brigadier Bhatia has made a significant point that India being member of Quad and SCO. And India is the only country in the world which is there in both kinds of groups, Western groups as also non-Western groups. By virtue of the economic status we are enjoying post-pandemic, there is a high degree of credibility. The rating of our Prime Minister is more than 73%. When you compare the elections in USA around the corner, you take either of the opponents, their rating is far below. So Prime Minister means what? It is India. He's representing India. So therefore, you made a significant point. They're concerned as far as India is concerned. They are fearful of the fact that if they push the envelope too hard, then it may so happen that RIC will become a reality. You understand the meaning of RIC. Russia, India, and China. If that becomes a reality, then the sustainability of the authority and predominance of superpower will be challenged much more vigorously and with intensity, which they have not seen till now. The global order is undergoing change. There is polarization, there is militarization. Deep state or the
Okay.
military industry alone cannot handle everything in the world.
Just a small analytical point. China grew up with the support of, with the collaboration of US, because they wanted to undermine erstwhile Soviet Union. And they suddenly realized that China is becoming a competitor now. From collaborator, they are becoming competitor. Now, they want to support India, but they want to control India, because when they fail to control China and China has become competitor, so they don't want this state. So that is how there are a lot of things which are happening, which General Sudhakarji mentioned. There are a lot of problems, and India will have to find ways and means, internal and external, both. And I will not go into the details. Details we have already discussed. So those are the things India will have to very dexterously, very nimble-footedly, we have to tackle all these issues, whether issues internal. There are a lot of internal issues. Canada is, you mean to say that Niger's issue is Canada had the will have gumption to go against India? No, sorry, no, it cannot be. It has to be with the active support of the State Department of and the deep state of US.
Very well
So
said, sir. Very well. Absolutely.
there is. Let us. What Bangladesh happened? Muhammad Yunus, he came to protect democracy, but there are no question of elections. He says in 25 we'll consider. So all this lullaby which US gives, we should be prepared, and we have to very carefully. Now, one thing.
Yes, sir.
Manoj Singh, they often see the security organization. How does it contribute to the regional stability, especially in combating terrorism, extremism, and separatism? That's yeah. Any point from your side?
No, sir. The question which I am reading is Mr. Manoj Singh asks, sir, why are different organizations like SCO, Quad, ASEAN, Squad, BRICS, etc. getting relevant? The answer is simple. China till 2012-13, the philosophy of growth story of China was to bide time. Deng Xiaoping's philosophy. 2013, Xi came into power, and ever since he has come into the power, the philosophy of China's growth story has turned. It has changed from kind of a quiet growth of the economy to aggressive projection of power. You see, from 2013, look at the number of incursions they have made, attempts they have made along the northern border, and similarly South China Sea. So they have been building up the force. So China is the common threat, and there is a strategic rivalry. The one one pole, that is the one superpower concept, is relevant as far as USA's thought process is concerned. They say we are unipolar, whereas China says no, we are a bipolar world even today. USSR may not be there, which is the second pole, the China. And India's concept is no, neither unipolar nor bipolar. We believe in multilateralism. Multipolarity is the order of the day. Please do not harass us, do not trouble us. We'll choose to select that particular thing which is beneficial to the national interest of India. These are the three different dynamics which are driving these organizations coming into. It's a polarized world. What was actually invisible 2 days back or 5 years or 10 years back is suddenly coming into prominence. Each grouping is trying to attract those countries to become more effective and assert their clout and influence. Essentially, it is dividing the world into global south and global north. Mindful of the fact that there is a east, there is also a west. India, by virtue of geostrategic location and significance and its growing stature of the economy, it enjoys that credible factor and being acknowledged all over the world for its leadership in different kinds of things. But India should not, as per my opinion, we should not take undue initiative in brokering peace between the warring factions of the countries today. We should continue to focus on the stability and the growth of our India till we become, at least if not more, at least 10 to 15 trillion US dollar economy at the earliest, as far as possible.
Last question of the day is without what
India
happened? No.
wasting time when SCO is regional. It cannot enforce a decision or compel its members to comply with the agreement. No. So option is very good question. Whoever is, Acha, RP sir has asked this question. So the option is either be a member or you be out of it. Which one is better? Like one ambassador asked me a question 2 days back. Talking to Pakistan, I replied his question. Talking to Pakistan is better or not talking, ignoring. I said a simple logic. If you have tried, exhausted all your options, Balakot has not deterred Pakistan. Your cross-border surgical strikes have not deterred Pakistan. There is a revival of terrorism. They continue to apply bleed India with 1,000 cuts. So what best is the next option? Do you continue to ignore Pakistan the way we are doing? They will not respond. China will continue to back Pakistan, and this anomaly against the rules-based order will continue in this 21st century. This is the new normal, new warfare. So therefore, in a short response to him, I had asked him, Ambassador, talking is better than not talking, or not talking is better than talking. So similarly, being part of the organization is better, or not being part of the organization is better. That you can decide for yourself. Yes, sir.
My short reply to one small thing I would like to say, that SCO, BRICS, these are the organizations, because UN of late has started becoming totally defunct, because it is totally controlled. There was a time when post World War II, when there were two poles, and so they can control each other. But now it is totally, UN is dominated by US. So therefore, relevance of UN is becoming increasingly less and less. So therefore, BRICS, there are 34 countries who want to become member of that. In this case, also there are 14 countries which want to become member of this, besides 10 members, because they feel if they are together, they can. And China definitely, I mean, like they have given 3 points which I had mentioned: university, SCO university, SCO medical system, and SCO bank. So therefore, all these things will help. Definitely a rule-based system, which Jan Sudhakarji has mentioned. All it is left for me to say a big thank you to you. There are a lot of questions, but time is of paramount importance. We cannot continue discussion much, as I would love to listen to just Sudhakarji for all his knowledge, which is emanating from his head. Thank you, Sudhakar, for sparing time. And thank you, audience, for all your very, very good participation. I'll try to reply to most of the questions which have been asked, and definitely I'll make an effort on YouTube. All it is left for me to request you all to please like, subscribe, and share channel, so that we keep getting encouraged to bring more such topics in future also. Thank you. Thank you to everyone, and good night and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. Thank you so much, sir.